It is my pleasure to introduce the students of Cabrillo School tonight. We have Milo, Fia, Amelia, Jacqueline, and Omar, who will lead us in the flag salute, read the land acknowledgement, and provide the highlights of their school.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The school district acknowledges that we gather on the unceded ancestral homeland of Ramatish almost unknowing people. As guests, we humbly extend our gratitude to the Ramatish Ohlone elders and community. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and we affirm that our sovereign rights as First People. As the original stewards of this land, the Ramatish Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Likewise, the Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land. That's good. Okay. Do I start? Do you want them to share?
Yeah, we'd love to hear about that. What's going on?
Hello, my name is Ahmad Hamdallah. I'm the president of the Student Council meeting, and I enjoy Cabrillo because of the education system, and the teachers are impeccable.
Yeah, okay. Can you say that a little louder?
Hello, my name is Fia Wolf, and I'm an eighth grader at Cabrillo School. Something I like about Cabrillo is how connected everyone is. With things like spirit days and family days, it's interesting to talk to people in different grades and classes.
My name is Jacqueline Lacistro. I am a seventh grader at Cabrillo. And what I like about Cabrillo is that it is close to my house, so I can bike to and from school. Also, the music program, which is amazing and has helped me develop my musical potential, and also how inclusive the whole faculty is.
Hello, my name is Milo Accarilli, and I'm a sixth grader at Cabrillo. I have been a student at Cabrillo for 7 years now, and one thing I love about Cabrillo is that all of the teachers have done awesome projects, and some of my favorite have been the Famous American in 5th grade, the Career Bear in 4th grade, and the Heritage Project in 3rd grade. And in these projects, I learned more about my family and culture, famous people and how they made a difference in America, and what I may want to grow up, and what I may want to be when I grow up. It gave me a chance to improve my public speaking and make me feel proud of all the hard work and learning I'd accomplished. And this year I am in band, and I've played music and loved music my whole entire life. And from 3rd and 5th grade, I had Mr. Yu. He was always inspiring me and telling me to keep going with music. But now my teacher's Mr. Dondele, and in band I play the trumpet. And he's not only teaching me a new musical instrument, but he's also helping me learn to have the discipline to practice every day and how to appreciate music. And I feel very lucky to be part of such an amazing school.
Well, and Milo had the courage to say in a room of Cabrillo parents, Cabrillo. I heard. So thank you so much to the kids, and also thank you so much to the parents that came out tonight for their presentation. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to roll call, but I first want to introduce our trustee Needy Patel is here virtually tonight. If you could just let us know, Needy, if anyone over 18 is in the house with you.
Yes, my husband is over 18.
Hang on, Needy, we don't have sound yet.
Can you hear me?
There.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, yes, my husband is in the house. He was over 18 and he is taking care of the crying baby, which you probably also hear in the background.
All right, thank you. So we probably need to go back.
She's muted.
Thank you. Oh, no, it's not. My document. I'll be here. Okay. Well, let's go ahead, Barbara, if you could take roll.
Here?
Here.
Here. I don't know if I have to be elegant, but it will.
Here.
Thanks. Can we just mute that TV? Okay, then let's turn it down.
Whatever, somebody's not on mute in the room. On Zoom, okay. Somebody's not on mute.
All right, we'll turn it back up if we need comment or as soon as trustee Patel has comment. All right, the district records the audio portions of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. In-person speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please complete a request card with your name, address, and the item number and submit it to the board president or superintendent. You'll be called to address the board and may speak for up to 3 minutes. Virtual speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and agenda item into the item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You'll be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please note, the public is welcome to provide comment to the board. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes unless extended or limited by vote of the board. A maximum of 20 minutes unless extended by the board is allocated for each subject discussion. The Brown Act open meeting regulations under the board must operate and do not allow board members to comment on non-agenda items or information you may bring up that are not on the agenda. Additionally, no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to staff following a comment. So let's move on to approval of agenda. Are there any questions regarding the agenda?
You need to report out those first.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. All right, sorry, I jumped ahead. Okay, the board met in closed session to discuss the closed session items. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. The board took a vote of 5-0 to take action or to move forward with that or to settle that item. There was 3 other conferences with legal counsel talking about anticipated litigation. There was no action taken on those remaining 3 items. Yeah, we didn't approve the agenda. So are there any questions regarding the agenda? Okay, do we have any motions to motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
Trustee Patel,
Yes.
trustee Burkey,
Yes.
trustee Doggett,
Yes.
trustee Patel,
Yes.
trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so request, any item shall be removed from the section and placed in the regular order of business following approval of the consent agenda. I do have one item that's being requested to be removed by the public, which is item 8H on the consent agenda. So we will take that out. And then do I have a motion to go ahead and approve the consent agenda with 8H removed for further discussion?
A motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Perfect.
Yes. Trustee Vidal,
Yes.
trustee Bertini,
Here, or yes?
trustee Doggett, yes. Trustee Patel.
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. We'll take this, we put it back over at the top of the information items. Okay. All right, so we will move on. Our next section is the superintendent special recognition.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening. So this evening, I am excited. This is the fun part of well, all of it's fun, but the exciting part for me, where we get to honor the work of our community members and then also some of our staffs. And so I am going to ask Mr. Lucy to join me. So that I'm actually facing the board. Good evening, Board of Trustees. I am Dr. Williams, your superintendent. It brings me great pleasure this evening to come to you and recognize a few of our individuals who have done exceptional work in supporting our district. When we started the school year, one thing that I mentioned to staff and I impressed the importance of is we all make the district. You know, sometimes people say the district, we are the district, and we cannot exist without the work and commitment of all of our staff members. So it is with great pleasure this evening that I take time out along with the Board of Trustees and along with our school site administrators to recognize all of our school secretaries and school assistants. And here's why. So the Board of Trustees and I are honored to recognize the school secretaries and the school assistants, I don't need this, because they are very instrumental to the functioning of our school system. When you walk into a school, usually the first ones to greet you with a smiley face or a reminder, it's good morning, good afternoon, how are you? Please sign in. They make sure that we continue to follow our policies and our rules as identified, but also you can find our school secretaries and assistants working with children. I have personally witnessed visiting schools where we have our little ones coming in and they're saying, oh, I need to call home. Or, oh, I pulled out a tooth. And right there, without hesitation, you do have your school administrative staff right there standing up, serving in the capacity of parent, supporter, doctor, nurse, and comforter. And those roles are very essential in terms of making sure the question that I ask often is, and how are the children? They are well. And so it's for their dedication, their commitment, the time that they give. We could never account for how much and how many sacrifices they have made. But it is indeed because of them that we are a school and we do have school. And so with that, this evening, I have invited each and every one of them to be before us, to honor them, to say personally, if no one has told you as of late, that you are exceptional, you are wonderful, and you are the light of this district. I am doing so today. So without further ado, I will have each of you come forth to receive your glory and your flowers. So, well, figuratively speaking, and just to thank you. And so for that, we thank you for your commitment to and for our children and being a partner in the education of the children of the Pacifica School District. And please come forward.
From Cabrillo, Mary Grigi, roll. Kathy here.
All right, we'll take our picture.
Yeah.
Don keeping the flowers?
Thank you.
From IBL for Orlina B. Lacey, Charlene Hilo.
Buddies. Barbara's Redbrook. Oh, no. Yeah. Right here. Oh,
Wait, there's something.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
From Linda Educational Center, Brenda Watterson. From Ocean Shore, Patricia Buddington. And Beanie Hoffman, hopefully. From Ortega, Tiffany Hanna. Vicky Broadway. And Jenny Gadwa.
Yeah. Oh, they're all shy. Rusty, come around. Here you go. Thank you so much. Oh, I get to go. All right, got it. All right.
From Sunset Ridge, Janine Casaneda. Karen Reynolds. Alicia Braza. And Geraldine Dale. And from Valamar, Margaret Demaray, Robin Hawkins, Nancy Ochoa, and Doreen Bevington. They're all on good.
Oh, congratulations. And so here we have what it reads. Pacifica School District Board of Trustees and Superintendent present the Certificate of Appreciation awarded to yours truly. Lord, thank you for your service and commitment to our students and staff, awarded this 25th day of October 2023. Thank you so kindly. Everyone. Also, we have another community representative that we would like to acknowledge this evening. And so the board, I see you now. The Board of Trustees and I are honored to recognize Ms. Mary Beer, for her support of our district community. Part of our guidepost this year, we have 4, and it is attendance, as you know, academics, community engagement, diversity, and also inclusion. When we think about our community connection, Ms. Beer facilitates the Pacifica Collaborative by bringing together all of our local or many of our local nonprofits and social service agencies, forging partnerships to support us as well as the community at large. Through her many roles in the community, she has connected the district with counseling services, alternatives to suspension, and drug prevention support. The district values and benefits from your work with Coast Pride and the Pacifica Prevention Partnership, which sponsors the annual Youth Summit focused on student wellness. Your support as a city council member of the district's work around workforce housing and your cheerleading the district on during the pandemic is definitely greatly valued and appreciated. At the core of all that you do in our community, collaboration is among one of your greatest gifts. And tonight, it is an honor to recognize you, Ms. Beer, for the many ways you have supported our children, our families, our community, and our district, and always with such kindness and grace. Please come forward.
Oh, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Again, Pacifica School District Board of Trustees and Superintendent present this certificate of appreciation awarded to our very own Mary Beer. Thank you for your service and the commitment to our students and staff. Awarded the 25th day of October 20th, 23. Congratulations. And thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Lates.
We don't want to say.
All right. Okay, so moving on with communications. Our first communications are from LSCA.
Hello.
Hello.
Last week, LSEA had our 3rd union meeting of the year. Thank you, Trustee Bradall, for attending our virtual meeting. Taking the time to click in and listen is a simple and effective way for you to learn a bit more about what is going on from the certificated perspective. Last Monday, LSEA Bargaining Chair Rachel Merlot and I attended the work study session reviewing the results of the survey on a potential bond or parcel tax. We're appreciative of the collaborative conversation we had with board members and district management. LSEA learned heaps of information we could share with our members about this one single topic. Imagine if we could have more conversations with each other. We would all learn so much with dialogue. Thank you to Will Lucy for getting the ball rolling with phonics and report cards. We are hopeful the ball keeps rolling. Our teachers are also eager to update our reading and language arts curriculum and look forward to working with you on that. We are also happy to hear that the SDC classes are on track to finally have access to curriculum for their students. Yesterday, LSEA leadership had our meeting with Dr. Williams and Dr. Chavez Torres. As we gear up for negotiations, you can imagine we are closely looking at money being spent by the district. We questioned Dr. Williams regarding $200,000 worth of service and consultant contract approvals that have been approved in just 4 school board meetings. $200,000 is well above a 1% raise for our members, and we want to have an understanding about how and where all the money is going before compensation has been settled with labor partners. We negotiate on November 14th and 29th. We have adjusted our November union meeting date to November 16th so our bargaining team could inform members of our progress at the table as we hope to settle on the 29th. Thank you.
All right. Our CSEA representative is up next.
Hello, my name is Nicole Sayers, and I am the president of CSEA Chapter 128. Thank you for recognizing very deserving CSEA members tonight. I'd like to welcome Elizabeth DiMartini, a new paraprofessional in our district, and Natalie Parada, a new custodial staff. Now, the last time I was here, I spoke a lot about concerns. Concerns for my CSEA members, concerns for all the PSD staff and students in the classrooms that I work in. Tonight, I'd like to say that I would like to see more communication between the district and CSEA. We've been able to meet with Dr. Williams and Dr. Chavez once a month, kind of before the meeting tonight. And it's been helpful. But there may be things that are happening between those meetings that, I don't know about. And so then I come here and I tell you all my concerns. And it's very possible that you're already working on those things, but I just don't know. So we'd like to have a little bit more communication about what's happening, just so that we can kind of stay on top of it. We also, I don't really want to be the problem. I really want to be a part of the solution. And my e-board also wants to be a part of the solution. They're smart. They've been around for a long time. They have expertise. And one thing about when you work in a school district, you do know how to think outside the box a little bit. So we would appreciate anybody reaching out to us, starting a little committee or meetings or anything about some of the concerns that I've had and other people have had, to see if we can't just work together and be partners and be the solution. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, people wishing to address the board. Sue, I'm going to bring you back up under information, but first we have Jared Brown.
Hi, my name's Jared Brown. I have a son who goes to Sunset Ridge Elementary. I must apologize that I don't have prepared remarks, so my speech might be a little disjointed. I am an attorney by trade, but most recently became a full-time special ed teacher as I had to remove my son from Sunset Ridge Elementary. He has been exposed to a toxic environment there, and largely it's due to a staffing issue. I mean, Nicole Sayers spoke eloquently last time about safety issues that she has with buildings and other things throughout the district, but staffing was one thing she also mentioned. And she said classes she works in have extreme issues that aren't being attended to, and kids don't feel safe, teachers don't feel safe, and it's creating a big problem. So with the issue of staffing, there's two intertwined issues. First is safety, and second is access to free, appropriate public education. I want to talk about the school, about the classroom in general that my son is in. He's in a special day class, or he was in a special day class. At the beginning of the summer, I was told that this class would have approximately 8 students, and along with the teacher, there'd be 5 additional adults that were trained in the classroom at all times. Along with that, my son is in need of a one-on-one aide, and this was never given to him due to parent funding and staffing issues. When the school year started, there were about 4 adults in the classroom along with the teacher, and 2 of those were cut. And throughout the year, we've only seen 3 staff members in the class during most times. Now, I'm not here to speak on my son's personal needs, but I want to highlight how his experience speaks to the overall problem. I've seen my son yell out of the class, run out of the classroom yelling, "Help me, help me." And most recently, he came home from school on Thursday, which was his last day of school, saying, "I need to go home. I need to go home," crying intensely. "I need to go home." And I had to convince him for about 15 minutes that he was home and he was safe. Now, why is he having school aversion now? Why is he having these extreme fears? Well, myself, I've witnessed in the classroom violence against students, violence against the teachers. I've saw a kid who I've observed multiple times just twirling around in circles and no one attending to him. And he was seen as a safe student because he wasn't creating any behavioral problems until last Thursday when I saw him take extension cord and the outlet end of it and smack a girl across the back of the head. And she was crying inconsolably. And then the boy who smacked the girl, he was crying. He wanted attention. He wanted help. And I had seen the same boy neglected all year long. Now, my son, he's also missed out on general education opportunities. And you spoke, Dr. Williams, about inclusion. Inclusion is important to us, and our son's ability to access a free, appropriate public education, including general education when possible, is important to us. And due to lack of staffing and due to him not having access to a one-on-one aide, certain days he's been unable to attend his mainstream classroom. I understand that I'm out of time. Again, the only reason I came here unprepared was because I felt it was necessary to just come here, even if unprepared. Thank you.
I think I saw another yellow card. Okay, thank you. All right, and then one more speaker. Can I call it Magnus Chow?
I think you're trying to get on.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Hi, I tried to do it online, but it wasn't working, so I came down here.
Oh,
I'm Magnus.
well, welcome.
Thank you. I wrote something down. So start.
Yes, go ahead,
All right.
please.
Good evening and hello, board members. My name is Magnus Chow. My 6-year-old son goes to Mr. Mario Martinez's mild to moderate SEC class at Sunset Ridge because of his disability. And I want to bring to your attention that Mr. Martinez's class is woefully understaffed. And based on what my wife Ada saw on Monday, October 2nd, it has become untenable. Due to the lack of staffing, what little staff there is unable to curb or control the violent negative behaviors of some of the children in the class. We have voiced our concerns, and through conversations and observations since the first week of school, there has not been any meaningful change or additional support provided for Mr. Martinez. Students in this class are victims of bullying and at risk to both physical and emotional harm because there isn't enough support to prevent it. We've spoken to staff and parents of other classmates who have been hurt in the classroom. The end of the first trimester is approaching, and we've waited patiently, and the school has failed to take action, and safety has not improved. We found out yesterday morning that my son's one-on-one aide is leaving, and her last day is this Friday. We have not received any information from the school if there would be another one-on-one aide on Monday. We value Mr. Martinez, Ms. Leah, and staff members in his SDC class, but there isn't enough support for the class to function. Once Ms. Leah leaves, it will just be Mr. Martinez at one para for a class of 10. And at this point, we've received no communication from the school regarding what's going to happen. The continued exposure to these toxic and obscene behaviors has my son now scared of school, and we are afraid for his safety. Ask anyone who knows Nathan, his therapist at school, his teacher, and his past teachers, and they'll say he's a happy kid who's super social. Nathan is a victim and he's been hurt at the school. And now after school, he would cry to us saying that he's sad and he wants classmate A and classmate B to leave him alone. And this breaks me and my wife's heart. He's suffering as he no longer wants to go to school. This emotional stress has also caused regression in Nathan, as he's now wetting the bed at night and his clothes during the daytime. In its current state, how does teaching and learning take place in this class? The kids in SDC already need extra help, and without immediate action, you're failing these children. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other people wishing to address the board online? No one online? Okay. All right, we'll move on to correspondence. Does anyone have a correspondence they'd like to report out on? Okay, then let's move on to board and superintendent communications.
I have been so swamped. I haven't
Elizabeth.
Okay, I attended actually you attended this too, the Peace People on Race. The Peace People in Pacifica had the panel, which she was on the panel, Laverne was on the panel, and Mary Beer was there. So I think it was very successful and very well attended. It was a very eye-opening evening. At Filoli, attended the Indigenous Peoples Day, where Mr. Greg Castro led a group, and he was the one, I believe, that did our Ramatouche, or helped with the Ramatouche land acknowledgement when Laverne and I were working on that years ago. Attended the Fall Festival at Valimar, missed the pony plop in the morning, but was able to attend the festival in the afternoon and evening. We had bond meetings, work study, and the ad hoc meeting. CPAC with the parents of special ed, the LSCA union meeting, went to an electeds barbecue that Mike O'Neill had with Ray Mueller's office and Anna Eshu's office, and also attended the Pippin play at San Mateo High School, which was what she was working on, that her daughter was in. And
that's why I'm brain dead now.
And for anyone, if you're interested in watching great entertainment, the San Mateo High School, their plays, they're very professional, and they have a beautiful theater and very professional high school productions.
I had my regular meetings with the superintendent, and I was also a panelist on the Pacifica Peace People workshop or event for racism in Pacifica. I also visited Ortega's library this month. And I just wanted to see where we're at as far as our book collections. I don't know if any of you know, but Scholastic was planning on having an opt-in if you wanted the cultural books. And so I just wanted to follow up and see where we're at as far as our libraries. And Julia Hall's library is exceptional. It could be it could be a model for a lot of school libraries. The only thing that I'm concerned with is that we have state standards, just like we do for education, and our libraries should be newer with updated information. And so right now, Ortega's library is at 2005 as far as their copyright date. And so the state standards is 10 years. So we should have that up to 2013. It's a long task, but with that, we should probably support our libraries with additional funding to get to the state standard. I also visited Valimar, and I got an update on some of the different bond projects that they did there. And I know you guys can't see this, but it's a picture. They were doing their fall, what was it again? Their fall, yeah. And some of the kids opted to do really haunted houses. And I also saw like Legos put together. And what else do you want to say about that one? While I was at Ortega, I ran into a senior employee who gave me the updates on why he was going to be retiring at the end of summer. And so I was really sad to hear about that, and I'll share more information with the superintendent on that. Oh, and Laura, with the gardens, we all listen to the land acknowledgement, and there's a piece that we still need to work on in the land acknowledgement. And that part is that we're going to make our students into being stewards of the land. And so one of the things that I think would help is with our gardens that we have is planting indigenous plants or foods that the Ohlone, the Ramaytush ate, way back when. And so that is like a little seedling, literally, that needs to grow into something bigger. And so I hope that our gardens can participate, and I'll talk to the superintendent more on that too.
All right, thank you. Trustee Patel?
I attended the board work study, but no other communications to report.
All right, thank you. I also attended the board work study, which we're reviewed the surveys regarding a bond measure and discussed potential where timing might be on bond and parcel tax, if that's something we want to do. I also attended the Fall Fun Fest, and got a impromptu tour of the D Wing, which was really nice. And then Laura and I were reminiscing and getting misty about how it just felt like community was back at Valimar, and just post-COVID, and just sort of feels like we're finally getting our bearings and kind of getting rolling. So, but thank you for that. And I also have been having my weekly meetings with Superintendent Dr. Williams, and that's kept me busy. So,
thank you. Good evening again. I've had a chance to, of course, visit schools. I've had recess, had play date at Cabrillo, and learned how to play kickball again. And I have to say, relearn, I should say, but also was interviewed by the students in terms of who are you? And we want to know more about you, everything we can know about you, which was very great and fun. Also, I had an opportunity to meet with our PTO, PEP also, and our CPAC parents as well. And then also with the leadership from PEP again. I continue to meet with our labor partners and learn so much from them. I welcome our conversations. I welcome more conversations as well. I really appreciate the fact that I can pick up the phone and call and reach out and have clarifying conversations. And that has been very helpful for me in terms of as I grow and become a true Pacifican here. I've also visited Sunset Ridge multiple times since we last met, recently today, with the laser focus on our SDC classes. Also have been working with staff in regards to our special education program overall. And so more information is to come district-wide. And so just want everyone to know I do hear you. And I know hearing is action. So that's it for me. Thank you.
all right, thank you. All right, so we have one consent agenda item that we asked was requested to be pulled. It was 8H. This is the approval of instruction policy updates. The Pacifica School District works to ensure board policies and administrative regulations are up to date to support the students and staff of the local community. Sue Beckmeyer, would you please come on up and speak to that?
I feel like I'm at a council meeting. I'm Sue Beckmeyer. Please state your name for the record. I'm Sue Beckmeyer. I'm a library media technician at Cabrillo School. And I asked for this to be pulled because I wanted to say that I consulted with a couple of the other library media techs, and we appreciate the updates to this policy. And there's just one little area that is needing another look. And that is the first sentence of paragraph 2, which does not state in it classified staff. And so while I appreciate the process by which these board policies are updated and using I guess you use California School Boards Association. And so many of the schools in California do in fact have teacher librarians, but ours is not one of the districts that does. So I think while I am always and ever hopeful and think one day there may be funding to place teacher librarians in each and every one of our schools, as we know the Ed Code suggests. If it's so, I recommend keeping that piece of language because you never know. But I do think another little tiny insertion of classified staff needs to be made into that first sentence of paragraph 2. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So any thoughts on that, questions? This would be something we would vote on, or we can ask to have it come back next month.
Can we have it come back next month?
Okay, all right. Is that it?
With that edit. That's on 6163.1.
Yes. Okay, so we will go ahead and table that until the next meeting. Yeah, or at a future meeting.
Thank you.
And we will discuss that. Okay. All right, thank you. We need to vote. Oh, yes. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe we do. So do I have a motion to table 8H?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
table 8H.
And do I-
Second.
Okay, and then, trustee Ronald,
Yes.
trustee Keating? Yes. Trustee Doggett? Yes. Trustee Patel?
Yes.
Trustee Gillis?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you, and thanks for catching that. All right, so we're moving on to the rest of our information items. We have with us tonight Patrick Sayers with Pacifica School Volunteers. There's a presentation for us. It's an information item.
Is there a time?
He doesn't have time on it.
We have 20 minutes per item.
Oh, okay, I don't know if I'll be that long.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. 10 minutes. 10 minutes for the presentation. I'm sorry.
I'm Patrick Sayers. I'm the Executive Director of Pacifica School Volunteers, and I'm very happy to be here. And I thank the board and Dr. Williams for the invitation to attend and to give you kind of an update of what's going on with Pacific School Volunteers. And as you are all familiar with, volunteers are a great resource for our teachers and for our classrooms. And our primary objective is to bring in as many qualified and secured volunteers to support as many of the classroom needs and the teachers' needs in the district. But let me start with a story first, to kind of give you an idea of what this is all about. Oftentimes, we are visited by the members of the foundations that support us, that fund us. And their favorite activity is to take tours around the schools and to meet teachers and to see volunteers in action. And so we had this one visit to Sunset Ridge. And there was a representative from our biggest foundation funder. And so our job was to take that individual to the different spots in the district where we had volunteers. And when we got to Sunset Ridge, we went back into the center quad. And sure enough, there was a volunteer who was sitting down with a table full of 2-year-olds. I mean, second graders, I'm sorry. And the volunteer was doing a cutout instruction, and the instructions was to cut out the letters of an animal that you enjoy. And so we went around there, and when we went there, it was a big mess of glue and letters and sticking all over the place. And but it looked like something was really going on there. So when we approached the table, one of the students had put his hand up, and on each finger, he had a letter taped. And this particular little boy had the word hippo taped to his hand. And he was putting it up, showing everybody that he knew the word hippo. And I didn't put the student up to this, but the student said to the representative from the foundation, "Do you know what this word spells?" And the student cut him off, even after he asked me, cut him off. He goes, "I know what it says." And I said, "It says hippo." And the representative was stepping back, and they thought it was so brash and so forward of the student, but he wanted to let them know that he knew how to spell hippo. And then he turned to the representative and he goes, "I'm sorry, but I didn't have enough fingers to take hippopotamus." Well, when that stuff happens, you know, you get the money, you know, you get the funding, and that kind of put it right there and there for a lot of us. So we've had a great ride, and it's coming up to 30 years that we have been supporting the Pacifica School District with volunteers in many different ways and many different facets, but primarily working with students. And working with students, not necessarily for long periods of time, maybe only a couple hours a week, for as long as they can. And they are usually instructed to sit down and work with the students on something they're having trouble with. And a lot of it has to do with literacy, reading comprehension, writing. And sometimes it comes to be math and science and history, things like that. And when there is a need for somebody just to spend a couple hours a week with a student on a particular problem, we've been addressing those small little issues for a really long time. And we've been trying to keep up the effort in helping those students who just have the need a one-on-one or in the small groups to kind of move up their skills, kind of be successful in skills. And that's what we want our volunteers to come in and do. And we prepare them, we secure them, we train them, and we orientate them to be as effective as possible under the supervision of the teachers. So that relationship that volunteers have with teachers is the most important thing, because the teacher knows the students best. And when you have a teacher that knows what a student needs, then they're going to be able to place a volunteer in there to help that student, even if it's only for a few hours a week. And that's what we spend a lot of our time doing, is going out and finding volunteers that can come in and work with students in need for just a few hours a week. Now, this has been going on for 30 years, and I just want to call out a couple of names of people, of two women that were responsible for starting the Pacifica School Volunteers back when a lot of the schools were still young here in Pacifica. And the two founders of the Pacifica School Volunteers is Gail Benton Shoemaker and Claire Harrison. And some of you are familiar with those names. And these are two volunteers, two parents that saw a need and a goal for volunteers to be participating in the classrooms. And they actually set up the structure for Pacifica School Volunteers, including the process of which we secure volunteers, check their backgrounds, take their fingerprinting, and making sure that we have the right volunteers in the school district. And so I just wanted to recognize them, because when you think about 30 years ago, they started the organization and it's still going. That means something's going, it's going right. And so I wanted to recognize them for them. In the last year, we have had, we of course are recovering from COVID. For a long time, we were looking for a new volunteer coordinator, and we found an outstanding volunteer coordinator, and I'm very lucky to be able to work with the staff. Their name is Minu Yashar, and she has been a tremendous help to reorganizing and working out how PSV can be more effective. And she's been working with us for about 6 months now. And I just wanted to let everybody know that we have a new staff member and that Minu Yashar is our volunteer coordinator. Is the slideshow around?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm actually going through it, sorry.
Oh, you are? Start from the beginning. Okay, great. So that is our logo. That is not, it's kind of a high five, but it's not really a high five, it's a helping hand. So it could be a high five or a helping hand. Go ahead and move. Pacifica School Volunteers, our tagline is Inspire Learning, Connecting Community. Can we move on? And our mission is to inspire a love of learning through accomplishment, through overcoming learning issues, advance academic achievement, promote students' well-being, and to build community. You can move on. So during the 2021 to 2022, that was during our COVID response. And during that time, we had a difficult time with volunteers because they kind of disappeared, as did a lot of other things during COVID. And so these were the program highlights that we had planned for 2021 to 2022. And we had to reduce quite a bit of those because of the school closings, and then also because a lot of volunteers did not feel safe returning to the schools. And that there were students and parents and families that stayed at home also. So you can move on to the next one. Here's some success stories. This photo is really good because this is the kind of work that we want to see volunteers and students do. The volunteer is helping the student in a literacy activity. Christy is a true blessing. She's a natural with the children. This year, my kids have shown a marked improvement in both the memorization of basic facts and in problem solving. I love the children. I love math and being able to help the kids with math. When kids understand math, they will love it very much. They will love math. And you can read these on your own. These are other feedbacks from volunteers. Okay, you can move that. And if any of you are familiar with the people in here, you can tell that this slideshow is in celebration of our 30th anniversary. Okay, go ahead. And these are some of the events that we have in our program. Is that we do a lot of read aloud days, and we have been through a lot of read aloud days at Ortega, Sunset Ridge. And then also we work with the Oceana High School Senior Exhibition Day. We provide volunteers for them to evaluate their senior projects that they must have in order to graduate. We have a volunteer recognition and tea event every year. Pacifica Eco Fest, when that used to be here, we were doing the Chili Fest. The Fog Fest Games tent was something that we used to do at the Fog Fest, and then Think Bridge Camp is our summer program. So I'd like to go over this just a little bit to kind of go over the procedures that we use to bring in volunteers, because that's our primary and most important function to start with, is to make sure that we have safe and secure volunteers coming into our school system. Interested volunteers contact PSV to arrange an interview. Volunteers fill out volunteer applications. So we've gone computerized, and now volunteer applicants can fill out the application on the computer and then send it to us, and then we start processing them and reviewing their applications. In accordance with federal law, volunteer applicants over the age of 18 must pass background checks, fingerprinting, and TB clearances. PSV volunteers are in full compliance. And that is something that we enforce strictly to make sure that we have safe individuals coming into the school district. Volunteers receive orientation, which is basically what teacher expectations are, what district expectations are, and then what our expectations from Pacifica School District. PSV determines best placement of volunteers based on volunteer schedule, interest, and teachers' needs. Teachers, the way to get the activity going in terms of placing volunteers is to find out what the teacher's needs are, and they fill out a teacher request form, and they list all the needs that they have at what times and what during the days. And then that is the document that we work to move forward in terms of recruiting volunteers. PSV maintains contact with both volunteer and teacher to ensure successful placement, provide year-end evaluations. High school volunteers are placed in after-school volunteer positions. We work with Oceana High School a lot because they have a community service requirement for all of their students, and they must graduate, I believe, with 100 community service hours. And we will place some of the students in the schools, the after-school programs throughout the PSV. Then all volunteers must follow strict protocols for COVID-19 vaccination requirement and safety procedures, which we did at the time. 2022-2023 PSV service goals, 50 community volunteers serving 55 classrooms, 5,000 hours a week. 25 after school, high school students providing 75 hours per week. One new read aloud plan for 2023 and literacy training program. District staff provide monthly literacy training for PSV volunteers. Next. And then these are our financial supporters, our most recent ones, the Lockton Corporation, Safeway, Wells Fargo, Walmart. The foundations are Woodlawn, Atkinson, Flyshacker, and Robbins. We have a lot of individual donors, and then community donations, Mitzvah Fellowship, and school district PTOs. And I'm not going to go over Think Bridge, but we do run a summer camp for it's called Think Bridge. And I guess if you want to run through the pictures, you can just run. Those are pictures from our Think Bridge camp, which we were recognized for by the district, which we appreciate. So we are in kind of comeback mode, and as a lot of different organizations are. We did survive COVID, and we're continuing to bring in new volunteers. At this time, we have 30 community volunteers putting in about 3,100 hours. In the next, we approximate they'll be putting in 3,100 volunteer hours by the end of the school year. That'll be serving 30 classrooms, 600 children in all Pacifica School District. Our high school volunteers, which are working after school, we have 15 of those volunteers, we are approximating for them to put in 800 hours of volunteer time by the end of the school year. And I'd like to make a special announcement that we are back doing read aloud days. And read aloud days is when we invite community members to come into a school and read stories to classroom. And so we are having a read aloud day at Sunset Ridge School. And it will be on November 17th. That's the Friday before the Thanksgiving break. And so what we are looking for is readers to come in and read their favorite story or another story that they have and join the classroom in reading stories to them. It's really a lot of fun, and it's really worth your time to be able to come and do that. We are with that read aloud day. we are focusing on storybooks and stories that read about kindness and community. Working with the Art for a More Peaceful and Just Pacifica initiative, which we got through Mary's collaborative. So that is it. Is there a place that I could put a flyer about the read on that? But we really need readers. So if you could write down this email address, it's PSV, as in Pacifica School Volunteers, at pacificasd.org. PSV at pacificasd.org. Any questions?
I have questions. Is there any other date for read alouds? That's my book fair week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love book fairs. The next one will be, we would like to plan 2 more read aloud days, but we don't have any dates on that, but it'll definitely be in the new year. And it'll be probably later in January or February. But please tell all your friends and tell all your relatives to come on and read a story. It's really a lot of fun. And the students just adore the readers. So it's something that's really rewarding. Any other questions? I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
How did the Ken Barbara Milan for helping me with it?
All right, thank you so much, Patrick.
You're welcome.
All right, our next item is public report on developer fees. This is Jody Peterson. This is an information item also.
Thank you, Trustee Burkini and Dr. Williams and trustees for having me here tonight. Tonight, I'd like to present the public notice for the availability of the developer fee balance sheet. So per the government code, it requires local agencies to provide a public report on the receipt and use of developer fees. The type of fee is collected and deposited into the Capital Facilities Fund. And it's basically a developer fee when there's construction in Pacifica and they file a permit. There's a fee collected by the Jefferson Union High School District, and it is distributed between Pacifica and Jefferson. So tonight, I have the 2022-23 Capital Facilities unaudited actuals. And just to kind of go over the numbers, in the beginning of the year, the fund carried a balance of over $760,000. And during the year, we collected over $46,000 and some interest earnings. So the district did spend this past year $642,000, and that was on the Valleymar D-Wing expansion. So you use developer fees in areas of growth, and there was an area of growth in Valleymar, so that was the perfect use of those funds. And so that was the only use of the funds. There is an ending fund balance of $172,000, which is carried forward into this year, and then we will bring you a report next year on how those funds are spent. And just so you know, the report was public notice at the 2 libraries and at the district office. So we met the posting requirements. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Any questions?
Just one quick question. The Valleymar School D-Wing expansion, was that on the master plan or was that not on the master plan, the facilities master plan?
Thank you. That is a very good question. It was part of the district's facilities master plan. And so originally we were going to use bond funds for the whole project. But given that this is a restricted fund and the funds are to be used in, expansion of schools, we were able to use these funds to save some of the bond funds for that project.
Thank you.
No, I just have a comment that I did see that progress the other day when I did visit at Valleymar.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, our next item is the CAS ELAC ILPAC and iReady assessment update with Will Lucy. This is also an information item.
Hello, everyone. Good night. Good night. Good evening. This is an information item, and and it is with regards to our assessment. So we begin with where we always start these now lately is ACE. And for this presentation, we'll be really focusing on academics. There are three purposes for this informational item: to share the assessment, share assessments that we use to monitor student performance and inform teaching and learning, to share results, and to share how these assessments and their results are shared with our PSD community. You can go on the next one. So we have assessments that are required by the state that are given annually, and those are state assessments. And then we have local assessments that are given multiple times a year to help monitor in-year progress. These are the state assessments. Move on to the next slide. And and this is actually pulled directly from our assessment calendar that's sent out to all staff, and so that they have this. And the first one we have up top there is the LPAC, and the LPAC is actually, there's two types of LPAC assessments. There's the initial LPAC given to new potential non-English students English-speaking students who to determine if they qualify as English learners or if they are initially English language proficient. And then the other one is the summative, which is given starting in February to all of our English learners to determine an English proficiency level. And then the second one, blue there, is our CASP, which is given annually to all 3rd through 8th graders in English, language arts, and math, and to all our 5th and 8th graders in science. And then the third one there is the PFT, which is the physical fitness test, and that's given to our 5th and 7th graders, usually at the latter end of March, and it's given through this thing called the FitnessGram. And in local assessments, these are our local assessments. And again, this is pulled directly from our assessment calendar. ESGI is a pre-reading, pre-math diagnostic given to our TK and kindergartners 3 times a year. iReady is a reading and math diagnostic given to 1st through 8th graders 3 times a year. We have Fontidus and Pinnell, which is a one-on-one benchmark assessment given multiple times a year, depending on student outcome. And then our MDTP, which is our math readiness assessment, which is given to 8th graders to help determine high school math course placement. All right, so this chart shows the percentage of students who scored proficient on the SBAC, English language arts, and math with also student group scores, some of our student group scores. The inside that green fluorescent box is all of those are the 22, 23 SBAC percentages, and then the ones outside the box is the 2021. So just to kind of give you an idea of the progress we made from 21, 22 to 22, 23, and then our subgroups in 22, 23 about how they did. And I gave both the percentages and the actual numbers. So those numbers in bold are actual number of students who were at proficient in English language arts and or math. All right, so this is the summative LPAC scores from 21-22 school year compared to 22-23. I want you to note the increase where that green fluorescent arrow is, the increase in the percent of proficient English learners. You can see that there was a huge growth in those proficient students from one year to the next. And then this is our at-risk and long-term English learners. This shows the number of those English learners who are at risk or are presently identified as long-term English learners. I wanted to highlight the difference between the 21-22 and the 22-23 at-risk and LTLs, which is highlighted in yellow. If you can see that we went from 47 at-risk and 59 long-term ELs to 28 in both. We literally went from over 100 to a little less than 60 in those areas. So it's a really pride point within the data. And then again, as we mentioned, so our pride points within our state assessments results, we increased in both ELA and math with the numbers of students who achieved proficiency. Our socioeconomically disadvantaged students did better as compared to all San Mateo County, which wasn't represented on the charts before. There were also, as noted in the previous slide, there was an 8% more English learners that scored proficient on the LPAC as compared to 21-22, and there was an 18% drop in at-risk and long-term ELs from 21-22 to 22-23. All right, this shows the SBAC and the iReady scores side by side. The green outline box shows two assessments given at approximately the same time. Remember, the SBAC is for 3rd through 8th, and the iReady is 1st through 8th who take it. Also, they also shows the results of our recent iReady diagnostic, which is the far on the right there, is that they just took that window just recently closed. And so you can kind of get an idea of not only the progress, but comparing the end of the year, the spring scores of 2023 to the first diagnostic scores of 23-24. So slides 14 and 15 will give you the results of our window 1, which is our first diagnostic for 22-23 of iReady in reading. So these next two, as you can see on the chart, and John, if you could flip from 22-23 and then go back, if you can go up arrow, yeah. So 22-23, if you notice, if you kind of flip back and forth, just flip back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You can see, doing very good, John. You can see that there's not much change in the bar. If you look at the students that are like you have the 24% of the students in 22-23, and if you flip back 23-24, you have 24%. They're pretty much very similar on those bar grams. If you look down at the domains, you notice also that there is within phonological awareness, phonics, and high frequency. And this is a first window. This is a first diagnostic. There's a large amount of students that are either that are at mid or above grade level at the first window. So you could see that that's a large amount of a large percentage of students that are at that. So that's something to note. And then if you go to the next two slides, which show the same thing, but within math. Again, if you flip back and forth from 22-23 to 23-24, you can see that there's, like 10% and 19% and 10% and 20% of those students are early on or at grade level. The bars and the colors are pretty much, percentages are very similar. And then here you can take a look, which is something that kind of stood out a little bit, was the measurement and data has a larger number of students that were at mid or above grade level and early on grade level. There's and again, this is from the first window. So these are students that took this. These students took this at the beginning of the year before not too much instruction has happened. So that I thought was pretty interesting. And in our points of pride with our local assessments, since we just looked at our iReady, I do want to note that other local assessments that are given that are not on our district-wide assessment calendar are curriculum-based assessments like within Bridges or CPM. So there's other assessments that are obviously given, some of them formative, some of them informal type of assessments, but the points of pride of our local assessments with regards to iReady is that there was a high percentage of students who performed mid or above grade level in the domains of like I pointed out, phonological awareness, phonics, and high frequency, and in it within math, in that measurement and data claim. And then, okay, so then now what do we do with this? The more details in the data. At the beginning of the school year, each school staff had the opportunity to look at SBAC and iReady results and begin to develop focuses. And they did that at the site level. We did it here at the district level with principals, and principals went back and did it at their site levels with their staffs. And then at the iReady, each site participated in grade level collaborations, diving deeper into the results and learning how to group students, have data conversations with students, and to determine areas of focuses within a grade levels and across grade levels, really. So they had that time that was facilitated with the iReady facilitators. But it was really the big portion of that time was the collaboration amongst the teachers themselves in looking at data and creating plans along those lines. And then what will we do with this data? Okay, I messed up my whole script here, so I'll just read it off here. So what will we do with this data? These are things that we are planning on doing. So school sites right now are putting together instructional leadership teams or reorganizing their instructional leadership teams with the idea of defining instructional purposes and being intentional about that. Our ILTs will participate in data dives in the development of school-wide academic focuses. This is not only in preparation for this year, but also in preparation for their planning of their SIPSAs and in their alignment with their LCAP. But the focus is looking at this idea of what are some strategies that we can do in the classroom that are data-based, that we've seen in the data that we need to do district-wide. Or not district-wide, but school-wide, and then eventually district-wide with some of them. So, and then also having data-driven intervention planning and monitoring that will occur throughout the school year. So, that was done last year also, where staff got together, teachers and support staff got together to really work on what interventions need to be in place for our students that have areas of needs that are being shown out through the data. So that will continue this year. And then after the second diagnostic of this school year, there will be a second round of site-based iReady discussion. But that'll be around progress monitoring, meaning how we got the data at the beginning of the year. We met in grade level groups. We looked at what we needed to focus on, and then we get a second set of data. So what are we doing now? How did the actions that we put in place are working, or are we looking at individual students? How are they doing on their typical growth? How are they doing on their stretch growth? Are we seeing progress, and so on? That'll give them more information about what they need to do, what changes they need to make, and even go back to looking at how they're grouping students in the classroom, how first instruction is looking in certain claim areas. And then we'll monitor the 23-24 school plans for student achievement. So that will be part of the ILT, but also obviously the school site council will be part of that too, in monitoring our existing plan, and then also helping with the development of the new school plan for student achievement at each of the sites, and then also the development of the LCAP and as I said, the 24-25 school plans for student achievement. And then how are these results? Sorry. Oh, yeah. How are the results of this data shared with the community? So families receive in the mail their CAS scores. They call it SSRs, which is student score reports. Families of English learners have received their LPAC student scores, and they're also receiving those students that are qualifying or are candidates for redesignation. They are also receiving notices about their progress and about their possible redesignation as fluent English proficient. Staff receives individual results and school-wide disaggregated results through our data zone, which is our data warehouse, and on the ESGI and iReady dashboards. That's something that's live, that's right in front of them every day. They're able to look at that. And then the teachers have the opportunity to share individual results with families during parent-teacher conferences, which I'm certain that they do. And then other times when data is shared, including during board meetings and through our local control accountability plan, educational partner engagement events. There'll be another opportunity for us to share with the community. Okay. Any questions?
Any questions? Trustee Patel?
Yeah, I have a couple of quick questions. Thanks, Mr. Lucy, for the overview here. And sorry, I can't see the room. I can only see the presentation now on Zoom. So the first question that I have is, how do we make sense of the two different types of ELA assessments, the iReady and the Fontes and Pinnell? It looks like we kind of have two different types of tests that are given. And can you help me understand how teachers can use both of the results from both of those assessments to support students?
Great question. That's a great question. And in fact, that question came up today in our phonics. We had a phonics review meeting today with a number of our teachers across the district that are implementing this new phonics materials, the new phonics program, Sadler. And that question came up about the Fontes and Pinnell and how that can be used, because in a way, the Fontes and Pinnell, it kind of goes in direct opposite to what you're trying to do in a phonics program, the F&P assessment. So the F&P assessment, the purpose of that is for the teacher themselves, meaning it's the one time, or not the one time, but it's one of the times that they have an opportunity to actually sit down and listen to the student reading and see what, not only how they score on that Fontes Pinnell test, but what type of reader they are. It also gives them a lot of information about what they need to do next in supporting that student to become a reader or to become progress as a reader. So the Fontes Pinnell is really even though we collect the scores for our own purposes to see kind of levels and those type of things at the district level and at the site level, it's really the purpose of the Fontes Pinnell is for the teachers themselves to be able to sit down and actually read with the students and identify areas of support that they need and areas of strengths of how they need to move on. The iReady is more of a diagnostic and saying, okay, we have, initially during the first window, we had the opportunity to see where they started. And then now we're going to monitor it mid-year, and we're going to monitor it at the end of the year. And the end of the year one helps you predict how they might score with the SBAC. But it's really the most important thing about the iReady is the actual monitoring along the way, to seeing if there's progress being made. But that's more at a class level, at a individual level, but it's really that monitoring progress of how they're doing in all the domains within reading or math.
Thank you. So I guess one question that I would have, and as a former educator who used some of these assessments, it can be very difficult to translate these two assessments between the language that's used in iReady versus the language that's used in F&P for assessments. And so then the challenge is it's hard for educators to effectively use both assessments to monitor and effectively plan an individual student's, progress and what needs to be done. And so I would just ask if there's a way the district can think about how to translate these two so that during the school year, the diagnostic results from iReady can be paired with the early results, the first window results from F&P, and help create that holistic picture of a student. Because I think it's hard, at least for me as a first year teacher, it's very difficult for me to figure out how to do that on my own with the different assessments. So that was one thing. And then the second question I had was, I noticed that we do F&P, and you mentioned that it's not necessarily as strong in phonics for kindergarten, but we don't use iReady for kindergarten. So I'm trying to understand why we use F&P in the grade level where phonics is probably the most important skill, perhaps.
Yes, so I can answer that, and then I want to talk about the point that you made before, because the F&P. Well, I'll start with that. The F&P assessment gives a teacher a level, a reading level. The iReady is how they're doing on the standard. So it's two different, they're assessing really two different things. That's why I say the main benefit of the F&P is having the teacher sit down and see what type of reader that the student is, because they're doing it one-on-one. So that's one thing. It would be a bit of a challenge to meld those two, since they are really assessing two different things. As for the, I'm sorry, what was that second part of the question that you had?
Why we use F&P for kindergarten versus iReady?
Thank you. We utilized ESGI because ESGI was really popular with the kindergarten students, and it is actually a more comprehensive assessment in that it also has a math component to it. So it's a pre-reading, pre-math program, but you do bring up a really good point in that has come up in our discussions about our review of the phonics program, is why don't we do iReady at kindergarten? In fact, there's actually a group that want to do ESGI for kindergarten and first and do iReady for second and beyond. Because ESGI does actually assess students in literacy, in reading, through their pre-reading. There's a menu of assessments that they can do. So they do a lot of phonics kind of assessment, phonics and phonemic awareness assessments within ESGI.
Okay, thanks. And then the only other comment that I wanted to make, and this came up from a couple of parents, is the first window for iReady is before the student really goes through the grade level content with the teacher. And so, I think there was some concern from some parents that the on grade level was below 50% in the district. And so I just wanted to highlight that first window is prior to them receiving any grade level content in their grade. So it's expected that it's, most of our students are not at grade level yet because they're just starting the grade. That's it.
That's a good point, and thank you for bringing that up, because that's something that was also brought up to me about, it actually, if they're one grade level below, they're probably right on where they should be. They should be around that because they haven't started the grade level that they're at. So having a lower than 50% is okay there. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I'm just wondering if every student has a parent-teacher conference at this point in November.
From my understanding, there's actually 3 schools that are still they haven't done parent-teacher conferences. They do them right before the Thanksgiving break, before that week. The other 3 have. It's my understanding that they do have a parent-teacher conference at the first time. I can't say for certain how the second one goes, but I know for the first one they're all offered. It's all off. They're all offered an opportunity to have a parent-teacher conference.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Our next item is a first reading of the personnel board policy updates. Dr. Carla Chavez Torres.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Williams. Tonight, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees review and discuss the proposed updates to the Personnel Board policies and administrative regulations during the first reading. There are 17 personnel board policies and administrative regulations addressing certification, employee notifications, bargaining units, personnel illness, injury leave, personal leaves, family care, and medical leave. I would like to highlight maybe just one to give you an idea. And the one I'd like to highlight is the Administrative Regulation 4161.2, which goes along with 4261.2 and 4361.2 on personal leaves. This regulation has been updated to reflect new law, AB 1949, which requires a district to provide up to 5 days of bereavement leave to a qualified employee for the death of a family member, and provide clarifying language regarding the definitions of family member and immediate family and implications for bereavement leave. Regulation also updated to reference new law AB 1041, which expands the definition of a family member for whom an eligible employee may take leave to care for to include a designated person. And what I wanted to highlight is a designated person means any individual related by blood or whose association with the employee is the equivalent of a family relationship. So they're really honoring people that mean a lot to people. And immediate family now means a parent, parent-in-law, grandparent, grandchild of the employee or of the spouse of the employee, and the spouse, domestic partner, child, child-in-law, or sibling of the employee, or any relative living in the immediate household of the employee. And so that is just a small highlight. Let me know if you have any questions.
Questions? Trustee Patel? All right, I think that's it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this will be our last item. I think she's here. We have to wait. Yeah.
You have to pause to test that.
Okay. Let's maybe take a 5-minute break.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Sorry, just a quick baby check. Sorry.
Okay. All right, this is our last item. This is an action item. It's a revised corrected employment agreement on or about May 24th, 2023. Board and Superintendent Dr. Darnice Williams agreed to a contract in which Dr. Williams agreed to provide up to 5 work days of service during the period of the 13th day of June 2023 for a total not to exceed 5 work days. Such days of service were paid at Dr. Williams' per diem rate of $1,045. The contract was in error in that the parties intended to provide for up to 8 days of service at the specified per diem rate of pay, and in fact, 8 days of service were provided. The proposed action by the board is to modify and correct the pre-employment contract to authorize payment for 8 days of service as explained above. Are there any questions regarding this revised/corrected employment agreement? Do I have a motion to approve the revised/corrected employment agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
And Barbara?
Trustee Bernal,
Yes.
Trustee Burkini,
Yes.
Trustee Doggett,
Yes.
Trustee Patel,
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right. Board of Trustees, Superintendent recap and future agenda items. Does anyone have any comments or thoughts?
I just want to thank the school sites that I visited for welcoming me on the school site with the principals and the library.
Anyone else? Dr. Williams? All right. With that, we will adjourn at 7:43 p.m. See you back here on November 15th. Thank you.
Recording stop.